Hi, it's Paul Murphy here from the Premiere Pro, and today I want to go through a really quick way to map your audio to different channels. For example, when you're asked to deliver audio split into dialogue, music, and sound effects. Now, there are already a lot of good audio mapping tutorials out there that go through the basics of the multi-channel workflow in Premiere. But the thing is, most of them deal with sequences that look like this, with only a few tracks of audio. When realistically, a lot of my sequences, especially for feature films, look more like this. And to me, mapping each of those tracks does not sound like the most exciting use of my time. So surely there's a much quicker way of doing things. Well, there is, and it involves a feature in Premiere that's been around a long time, but very few editors actually use, and that is audio submixers. Submixers are like the adjustment layers of audio tracks. They allow you to combine multiple tracks together and then add effects to them once rather than having to do it for each individual track. So let's look at how we can use these for our audio mapping. The first thing I should say is you need to be in a multi-channel sequence, and I can see that by the number next to the master track here. I'm just going to change this number to 8. If you don't see a number here, that means you're not in a multi-channel sequence. You'll need to create one and then copy the clips from your original sequence into this new one. So now let's create our submix tracks. Select Sequence, Add Tracks. We want 0 video and audio tracks and 3 audio submix tracks, 1 for dialogue, music, and sound effects. Now let's head over to our audio track mixer and we'll scroll all the way to the end till we get to our submixers. And to make it easier to tell these submixers apart, I'm going to name them after their assignments. To assign the dialogue submix, I click the channel assignment button, and 1 and 2 is already checked, which is what I want because I want a mix down of everything. And I'll also check 3 and 4, which will be the dialogue by itself. Then I do the same for music, a mix down on 1 and 2, and I'll isolate 5 and 6. And the same thing for sound effects, mix down on 1 and 2, and isolated on 7 and 8. There we are, that is all the mapping we actually need to do. Wasn't that incredibly fast? The only thing is if I play my timeline, I can see on my audio meter that everything is still only coming out of channels 1 and 2. That's because all these tracks are being sent to the master output rather than going through the submixers that we've just created. What we need to do is go back to our track mixer, and in the track outputs we need to choose the appropriate submix from the drop-down list. Now aren't you glad we named these submixers beforehand? This is definitely much faster than having to assign the channels of each individual track, and it helps that I've named each track to indicate whether it's dialogue, music, or sound effects. So now we're done, and you can see that everything is mapping correctly. What's even better is now that we've grouped our tracks like this, we have more powerful control. For example, say we need to quickly mute the sound effects from the edit, all we have to do is go down and mute the sound effects submix. And that's it really, fast, simple audio mapping. Now I will mention one more thing, and that is if you find yourself doing these types of mappings regularly, why not create a preset for it? If I select File, New Sequence, and go to the Tracks tab, I can load the settings of this current sequence, and you can see there are my submixers, and they're already mapped correctly. Then all I have to do is click Save Preset, and I'll never have to do any audio mapping ever again. So that's it. I hope this has helped speed up your audio mapping workflow, or even just introduce you to submixers, which is a powerful feature in Premiere worth looking into if you do a lot of audio work. If you're looking for more tips and advice like this, please check out my website, thepremierepro.com. Until next time, I'm Paul Murphy, and thanks for watching.